Hey, good morning and happy Monday. I hope you had a good holiday weekend so far. We still have a little bit more time. So I'm still doing the Monday Live today. It won't be very long, but it's a bunch of shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts for you. So hopefully you'll find that they're useful. We're all about saving you time. So hopefully during the next year, you'll be able to use them in a lot of your programs. So these keyboard shortcuts don't work in every program, but they work in most. So it's always a good idea to give them a try, save yourself some time. All right, let's do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. And if you like these Monday Lives, you can always go to our website at virtualinstructor.com and you can click on the Monday Live events calendar, and that will show you what the upcoming Monday Lives are. So we have this week, we're talking about must know keyboard shortcuts. And then on the 3rd, I'll be talking about some time saving tips with different word templates. So if you attended last week's Monday Live, I talked about Excel templates. This one, I'm going to talk about word templates to give you ideas of different ways you can save time, not have to start things from scratch. You can always just edit them and modify them to your needs. And then on the 10th, I'll be talking about some Outlook and Gmail tips to deal with all those annoying emails that you get all the time. So I've worked out a little system that seems to work pretty well for me. So I'll share it with you and hopefully it will speed up emails. I don't dread them nearly as much as I used to. And then on the 17th, for those of you that use PowerPoint, or you can also do this if you're using slides in Google Workspace, I'll show you tips and tricks just to make it faster and easier, and maybe also make your presentations a little more professional. So that's what the upcoming ones are. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop up and I'm going to open up a PDF. So this is a PDF that I've created for you, and I'm going to show you where you can download this as well. But basically, these are commonly used keyboard shortcuts. They don't work in every single program, but they work in a lot of programs. So if you start to memorize these, it'll just make your life a lot easier when you're thinking about little shortcuts. If they don't work in a program, well, then they don't work. But like I said, they work in most programs. So I'm going to go ahead and go into Microsoft Word, and I'll just bring this over so you can see it. And we'll just play with Word as the sample program, but you could use this in Excel. You can use it in just about any program. And I'm going to cover both the PC and the Mac keyboard shortcuts. So since I'm demonstrating this on a PC, I'll be using the Control key with whatever letter I talk about. And if you're on a Mac, you just use the Command key instead of the Control key. So just to refresh your memory, I'll pop back over to this little PDF I set up for you. I'll just make it a little bit bigger so you can see that basically we've got the letters, then the PC version and the Mac version, right? So I'll go through quite a few of these for you so you can see what they are. So back over in Word, whether you're in a PC or a Mac, if you type in RAND, ND, that stands for RAND, open and close parentheses. The little trick, some of you may have heard of this already. You hit enter and Microsoft automatically gives you sample text to play with. It's a little different depending on what version you're on, but it gives you sample text to play with. So the first command I'm going to talk about is Control A or Command A, and that means select all. So in most programs, if you want to select everything, if it's an entire spreadsheet, if it's everything in a text or note document, if it's on a PowerPoint slide, anything where you want to select everything that you're seeing, you hold down the Control key or the Command key and tap the letter A, and it selects everything. So that's the select all command. Okay, from now on, I'm just going to say Control, but for my Mac users, just substitute the command instead of Control. So if you want to bold something, if you just double click or select whatever it is you want, Control B turns on the bold. It's a toggle. Control B turns it off. Okay. Control C, most people know about, is copy. So if you want to copy something, you just do Control C and then that will copy to the clipboard. And then you just move to wherever you want to be, and Control V for paste will paste it. Okay. Now, Control D, that one has different meanings depending on what program you're in. So if you decide to download my little cheat sheet for you with the different shortcuts, you're not going to see anything there because there's not really consistent enough with other programs. But another one is Control E. Now, it might seem a little strange because you might think if you want to center something, wouldn't it be Control C? No, Control C is taken up with the copy command. So this is really kind of crazy, but the way you remember it is, you know you can't do Control C because it's already taken. So if you spell out the word center, the very next letter is the letter E. So if you do Control E, that will center it. And now, I'm going to jump ahead a teeny bit, but Control L for left justify, Control R for right justify, and then I'll go back to Control E for center. Okay. All right. Then if we're following in the alphabetical order that I was kind of doing, the next one is Control F for find. Now, this one does work a little differently depending on what program, but it usually will bring up some way for you to find something. And this one actually works pretty well in just about any browser as well. So Control F brings up the find. Now, in the Word on the PC, it brings up this navigation thing. On the Mac, it brings up a little find area that you can type in what you want to find. Okay. And then Control G is not really used. You're not really going to find that on the Mac when you do Command G, but on a PC, in most cases, it pops up some sort of a go-to type thing. So it allows you to go somewhere. So if you're on a Mac and you're doing a browser and you're in a browser document, a lot of times if you do Command G, you'll get the go-to popping up. Okay. All right. Now, again, another one that's only on the PC, but it's pretty common on the PC, but on both the Mac and the PC, you may find it in some of the browsers, is Control H. And that brings up a dialog box in Word, but it basically is a replace command. So if you're working in a program like within a browser, a lot of times Control H or Command H will allow you to search and replace. That's what it stands for. So again, in Word itself over on the Mac, it doesn't work, but it is a pretty common shortcut for you. All right, another common shortcut, I'll just use it with this word powerful down here, is Control I. So most programs, you may have already memorized that, will make it italicized, and then you do it again. It's a toggle switch, so it turns it on and off. So, and then Control J is justification. So I'm going to come back over to one of these paragraphs, and first I'll make it centered. So I'll do that Control E to make it centered. And then we talked about Control R makes it right justified. See how it's right justified with its margin. Control L, left justified. And then Control J makes it full justification. And this works in both the Mac and the PC and works in most programs. So if you want full justification where your left and right margins are flush, and in fact, I'll cheat. I'm going to hit delete to get rid of this so we have a little bit bigger paragraph, and I'll do Control J. And notice how the right is lined up and the left margins are lined up. But you may also notice you get a little bit of extra spacing between words when you're trying to justify something. So just be aware of that. All right, so that's another one. Control K, Command K, not consistent enough for me to say, hey, this is a pretty commonly used one. We talked about L, so we know that is left justified. Control M is, again, not consistent enough for me to tell you something. But the next one is Control N. Control N, or I know I said I wasn't going to keep saying command, but I will once in a while. Don't want to leave you Mac people out. So on the Mac, this Command N. When you're in most programs, not every program, but most programs, if you want to do a new, whether it's a document, if you're in Word, if it's a spreadsheet, if you're in Excel, if you're in Photoshop and you want to do a new drawing, Photoshop document, so Control N or Command N will do that for you. So that's a great little shortcut to know about. In most programs, if you do Control O, that will bring up the open. So it lets you open something up. Okay. And that works, like I said, in most programs. And then in most programs, Control P will bring up the print command. So it's for printing. And this is again true in both Mac and PC. We talked about Control R for write justify your margins. And you probably figured this one out before too, but Control S, if you've never saved anything, it's going to pop up and ask you, do you want to save something, right? Where do you want to save it? So it's like a save as. But if you've already saved it, it just quickly saves it in the same location under the same file name that your original file was saved under. So Control S is pretty uniform. Control T, not that consistent, but this next one, Control U. By the way, if you're counting down the alphabet, we're almost at the end. So I'll just go ahead and double click on the word document here. So if I did Control U, it's a toggle switch, turns on, underline, and then do it again, it turns off, underline. And then Control V is for paste. So if you've done a cut or a copy, Control V is for paste. So in earlier lives, I've talked about that if you look at your keyboard and you find X and C, it kind of makes sense if you think about it. Control X is for cut, Control C is for copy, and the very next key on the keyboard is Control V, which is paste. So if you've ever had trouble remembering what that paste one is, hopefully that makes it a little easier for you. Control W in a lot of programs closes something. So I'm going to do Control W. Now I haven't saved this yet, so it's going to ask me to save it. But if I said don't save, it literally closes me out of whatever I was in. Control X was to cut something. And then I'll just go back and do, actually, no, I will do the keyboard shortcut of Control N. So you get to see that it works, right? Okay, so that just brought up a brand new document. So then I'm just going to type in, this is a test. And then if I wanted to undo this, I could do Control Z, that undid something, and Control Y is redo. So if you've undone something and then you change your mind, Control Y or Command Y is a great way to redo something. And if you change your mind and don't want it, Control Z or Command Z is a great way to undo it. In a lot of programs, you can keep doing Control Z several times, so you just keep undoing. Not all programs, but most of them let you undo several and then also let you redo several. So hopefully that gives you some ideas of some keyboard shortcuts for you. So I'm going to pop back over to my PowerPoint, and I'm actually going to put this up on the website probably within a day, so you could find it over there as well, virtualinstructor.com. Or if you want, you can just go to download, and actually there is a faster one I made for you. It would be virtualinstructor.com. Whoops, back it out there. And I forgot that password. Okay, sorry about that. So this is a perfect example of doing an undo. Okay, there's also a so if you go to products.virtualinstructor.com/common-keyboard-shortcuts, then that will let you download, and I'll bring it back over here for you. You can download this little keyboard shortcut list for yourself. So make it a little easier to remember those things. All righty, so almost at the end of the 15 minutes, so I don't want to go too long, especially because most of you are off today. So just a reminder, if you want to be reminded of some of the upcoming talks that we have on January 2nd, I'm going to talk about some word templates that can save you a lot of time. And on the 10th, I'll show you a technique that I've created for myself too, because I absolutely hate all the emails. It just drives me up the wall. So I found something, I created something that's making my life so much easier. I don't dread looking at the 80 billion emails anymore. So if you want to see my little tip that I've created for myself, see if it works for you, that will be on January 10th. And then on the 17th, if you're a PowerPoint or a slides user, I'm going to show you some shortcuts on how to create slides and be able to make them look consistent, and also be able to do some fun little tips and tricks for you. Thanks so much for attending this one, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and Happy New Year is coming up soon. So I'll see you next year. Thanks. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.